Richard, talk a little bit about your churches again, so Anne knows, Anne can glean what the hell you're on about, and then I'll show a video.
Right. I've been looking into churches in the Vale, which
Mm.
are, some of them, there might be a couple of bricks, or a lot of them, they're just bare fields, but there were churches on these sites.
Right.
And I'm trying to find out how how far you would have been from a church
Yeah.
when you lived in a small village
Oh,
in
right.
medieval
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
And you
Oh,
go
that's
through the
good.
maps and there's loads
Hmm.
all through the Vale. So
Yeah.
So that I think what. Sorry, Richard.
Yeah. I
All
mean,
right.
it's interesting because it's social history, isn't it? You know, where would where would people, how far would they have to walk? And I don't expect they'd have to walk very far.
That's the point. Well,
yeah,
Yeah.
I think the point is right. I think the real point is why don't we get a map of the Vale of Glamorgan up, right?
yeah,
Maybe I'm not going to be maybe I'm not going to do what I wanted to do, but
yeah.
if, I tell you what, if we get a map of the Vale of Glamorgan up, and what I wanted to do was show a little video of Dinas Powys Castle, and I wanted to do a voiceover over it, but we'll if I can get a map of the Vale of Glamorgan up now, right, and then we'll just crack on. So share. Let's get a bit of visual.
Hmm.
See, Anne was moaning we don't do anything in these bloody classes. And if you turned up, we could have done more. But no, we've been waiting here. Me and Richard,
Well,
right, have even me and Richard
well,
even had what? Shut up, Anne.
yeah.
Right, go for it. Right, okay, we're gonna if we get a map of the Vale of Glamorgan up, right.
Hmm.
Don't mention Alan Carnes, who's completely disappeared. Right, okay. Okay. Right, so if we go with a map. Oh, oh no, I don't want the Vale of Glamorgan Council. Right. Oh, I went onto the Vale of Glamorgan Council website strangely today, Richard.
Yeah.
And apparently the Romney family, they haven't changed it. The Romney family did authentically come to the Vale of Glamorgan in 1412. It's true.
Hmm.
Which they didn't. It was 1812.
Yeah.
Right, so
Oh,
okay, so I just want this little map in the background, right?
yeah.
It's not showing everything, right? But it's a descriptive.
Hmm.
So the point is what Richard's talking about is the white area there where you've got Barry, right?
Hmm.
If you think of Barry and it's very helpful there. If we move in a little bit more. Now, one thing about Barry is that Barry itself, in the medieval period, actually we know that there is a church in Carrickston, it still exists. The church in Merthyr Dyfan, it still exists,
Hmm.
right? And then if we go over to here, where it's got Barry Castle, over towards here, the Millwood, over towards the left, there was there was another village called Cumkiddy, which you've got a church, right?
Hmm.
So obviously Porthkerry, where you've got it says Porthkerry there. There's a church at Porthkerry still there. We're going to go somewhere, right? And obviously where you've got it says Romney Park and Old Village Road, right? You've actually got basically um it says a cemetery there. That's where the church is, right?
Hmm.
Um, so the point is, and then you've got even Barry Island without population in the medieval period has a church,
Hmm.
right? And then on the outskirts where it's got superstore, all that sort of white area, and a little bit further north, actually, um, a little bit further off the map there on the left hand side, top left hand side is highlight. So there's a church there, right? So where we're going, and over in Sully. Oh, hang on. Move. What's got? Right. Okay. Here we go. Oh, what? Hang on. It's something gone wrong a minute. Right. Hang on a minute. Stop. 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 Google Play. Where we've got Sully, for example, we've got a church, and then we're leading to it when where you've got the words Barry, right? In that area, it's East Barry, right?
Hmm.
Now, if we go over to where Morrison's is, where it says the memo hall, all that area there, we've got buildings which comprise the village of Halton. And all of those buildings, every single sign of all the village of Halton, and even Richard, I've even traipsed the lanes recently, right? And I wanted to find something and I haven't. Well, the entire village of Halton doesn't exist. It's been erased from history. There's nothing of it at all. But back 150 years ago, Halton was quite a sizable village in the area, except it's not got a church that we're aware of, right? So Richard's point is that across the Vale of Glamorgan, in all of these places like Langford, Monknash, Wick, Llanmaes, Llantwit Major, St Athan, Charleston, Roos, Cowbridge, and all the bits in between, or any villages in between, usually have a church, right? Lamiangle has a church. It's not on there. Llantrythid has a church. And even that place outside Cowbridge, which if you've got the sea there on Cowbridge, basically a little bit over there on the left, there's actually a church, but that's not got a village with it. So Richard's point is that and I think Richard, if you're going to put a little map together, I think you should do it as follows. You should have a church which hasn't got a village with it, and then you've got a village without a church, right? And then you've got a village with a church. I actually you got through a code of three, but this is going to throw us again over by this. This is when I used to my very fond memories of working at Cosmeston Medieval Village, right? I can remember we were constantly working, and it was like, right, where's the church associated with Cosmeston Medieval Village, right? And Anne made a very important point a few minutes ago, which she's totally forgotten, right? The point is you're not going to walk far to a church, right? And we were always told, right, it's pointless looking for a church in Cosmeston because it's Lavernock, right? But if you've ever walked from Cosmeston to Lavernock, right, particularly with a coffin, right, it's going to take you more than 10 minutes, right? It's quite a distance. And in fact, the point is that Lavernock is a different parish. A different lordship in the medieval period, right? Cosmeston is its own, so each lordship had its own church. So the church of Cosmeston is missing, right? We found the Lord of the Manor's house, we found the village associated with Cosmeston, we've even found the dovecot, right? With Lavernock, we don't have much of a village. We've just got the church because most of the villages are voted into the sea, right? And then Richard, I'm checking it. What about Richard? What about Swanbridge? Right?
Yeah.
Swanbridge, Swanbridge, I've seen it because I'm the only person in history to see it because I was stupid enough not to have a camera that day. There's a medieval quay in the area of Swanbridge, right? So there, and you've got a building, you've got a pub, and you've got other stuff there which traces its origins further back.
Yeah.
So where's the church associated with Swanbridge? There you go, Richard. Richard, I'm bullying Richard now. Actually, Richard, right? What about where you've got Swanbridge Road, right? And there you've got you've got Cog Farm, right? There is a village there. So where's the church for that, Rich?
Yeah, another one.
I'm really fucking him up now. So in other words, it's really important to bear in mind. Oh, and there's something else really weird as well. When I was a child, right? When I used to be studying Penarth, in Penarth, there's there's Curtarashta, and there's another place I believe in Penarth, right, where we've got like courts and memorial buildings, right, and it's like tracing the early origins of churches in Penarth, and that's not an easy one, right? But what we've got, Richard knows where we're going to go now. where we've got we've actually got, if we go if we go, hang on, if we go down that lane, right, all the way down all the way down this road, right, you actually eventually get, oh, there we go, Old Cogan Hall Farm. There's a church there, and basically we've got a church there, we've got a farm, and the village is gone, right, but the church still exists.
Mm.
Go on,
Yeah.
Rich.
I
Tell us
mean,
a little bit
you know,
more about what you think.
obviously there was you know, like the deserted medieval village. Sorry, the church that's on its own outside Cowbridge. That's a
Sanfranix,
deserted
yeah.
medieval village. So, you know, and we think it was, well, the plague or whatever took them away. You know, a lot of people away. So yeah, you got to. Well, we were talking about the plague quite a bit, clearing out villages in the Vale. I
Yes.
mean, do you think that's what it is? You know, that's what.
Well, the big danger is that we always used to think that it was the plague that was the main thing that was responsible
Mm.
for the abandonment of villages. But there are other events in history that caused the
Yeah,
abandonment of villages. It's just not the plague.
no,
Um, and
yeah.
because when we went to when we had a trip to Cornwall, we visited a village that had all the buildings and stuff, but the village itself was actually abandoned after the plague, right? And there's lots of other reasons why villages have been abandoned in history. It's not
Mm,
just down to the plague,
no.
but then again, the plague is quite a big one,
And
right?
there's the Civil
And
War, and
there's the Civil War, exactly.
um,
So we
typhoid. Well,
no,
typhoid was
cholera,
probably
cholera.
when Barry was in the
No,
Victorian
well,
times.
no, don't think about typhoid, but ty but the main thing is that we know what you're saying exactly.
Mm.
You know, these things come about and they happen,
It would be
right?
interesting if there were some records for Richard to find, you know,
Yeah,
probably.
that's the thing. They just seem to be lost from church records.
Yeah,
I think there's more stuff out there, but it's just
Yeah,
the way it's archived, right?
yeah.
mm,
Because
mm.
it's probably very, it's earlier in the, just
Have you
records
ever
weren't
been?
kept that well.
Have you ever been to Cardiff Archives?
No, no, a couple of times I've been meaning to. I must, because of course it was
It's
closed then it was closed with the COVID.
oh right,
Reopened
yeah.
now.
I
Yeah.
don't know if it's
One time
open
you could
now.
only sort of, if you made an appointment in the last year, I think you could only look at two items, apparently, something like that. I thought, I wouldn't want
Um,
to,
I know Carl took us once. No, it did. It is good to be taken and go there and feel that you're welcome, you know.
yeah,
But you just have to phone up, I suppose. But I
yeah,
know you'd probably rather see records on your own computer or through, you know, some of them do have access, don't they?
yeah, because
To
it's hard to get
records.
into much, you go down to the Aberystwyth and try and get out the National Library.
Yeah.
They were supposed to be putting everything on,
Oh
so on
yeah.
file, but I don't think they're anywhere near it.
No.
they're not. I can tell you that. I don't know. I had a paddy a few months back. I was I had a row with another archaeologist and we sorted it out. But I had a bit of a paddy with the Royal Commission and I said, look, I've been filing all these reports this year. You've had like 20 odd reports off, 25 reports or whatever off me. And none of them have been put online. And I'm thinking, well, why am I bothering? And they
Mm,
said, got back very apologetic and they said, it's all there. But there's
mm,
such a huge backlog of stuff that's going on to the
mm,
system rather than the stuff that they've got to computerize. And my great fear is, oh, let's get, we don't need this image up now, but my great fear is that they're if they don't look, they're not going to be able to computerize everything, right? They're really not. They're not. It's impossible. They're not going to be able to computerize everything. Somebody's going to sit down there one day, right? For example, well, I got a good example. I don't know if it's over here, right? Yeah, I've got an example of you, right? Right, in this little box here, right? That I've just got off my windowsill. I have got um, 9 train tickets, right? Yeah, and these train tickets relate to the Sully train line.
Oh.
Now, are these going to go online? Right?
Mm.
No, I don't think so.
Mm.
Right? Is a box
Mm.
that's been put to is a box of notes that was written by okay, John Story in 1890 on his work establishing the museum in Cardiff. Is that going to go online? It's unlikely, right?
Mm.
And how many boxes of finds are going to be written up and put online in the museum? They're not. It's not going to happen. So
No.
um, I know what you're saying, Anne. It's good for Richard to have this stuff online, but it's just not going to happen. And the other thing as well is a guy
Oh,
who we published a book for, which was Brian Ketch, right? I'll tell you a little bit of a story,
yeah.
right? And he said he was, but this was in the year of the pandemic, right? And it was we published this book for him. It was. Are you able to let go off on Richard?
No, he's not coming up. There's no one
Is it?
coming up.
I would like to say that I actually have an essay in Aberystwyth archives.
You've got an essay.
Yeah, there was I mean it's a long time ago in the 80s. I wrote a story of a competition for a
Yeah.
competition, and with the Virago Press, and
Yeah.
I didn't win, but I got my story was put in the archives.
That's brilliant. That's
But
brilliant.
that was a
But
long time ago. Yeah.
yeah, but how many things like that are not put in the archives? It's like
No, I mean, this is it.
uh,
It's only the written words, isn't it? They can't really
yeah.
put things like tickets, that there's got to be, yeah, I mean, they could take a photo of them, you
But
know.
but back to that point. That's exactly my point. That leads me in. Like when I was when I was publishing this book for Brian Ketch, right, in the pandemic year, he said he said about 10 years ago he had gone all the way down to the archives. He was going down to West Wales anyway, 10B. I think it must have been in the library or something like that. And he said he was looking through the newspapers and it was great. And he said, "Oh, I'll come back one day and I will take notes from these newspapers." Right. So he goes back and all the newspapers that he had previously handled 10, 15 years ago from the 1850s and the 1860s and going back to the sinking of the Frolic in 1831, right? They had all been put in a skip and destroyed. And
Oh,
he said that they had taken photographs of these things, right? And
hmm,
whoever was taking the photographs took the photographs so poorly that
hmm,
most of the detail that he was available 10 years ago was gone, right?
hmm,
So
hmm,
if we're talking about revolutionizing
hmm,
the way that we keep records and archives, we're not revolutionizing anything. It's doing us no favors at all. And I believe that the best way forward is to actually have hard copies. The best way is to actually handle documents and maps. You know, for I can remember I can remember back in 1993, right? When I no, it wasn't 1993. It was 1992. It was when I was doing a work experience placement to do some research on a book that I would eventually write and
Mm.
publish in 1996, right? The Romans in the Vale of Glamorgan, my first book, right? It was done as a school project, right? And the reason why I had really good information was that I actually had the documents in front of me. I had the maps in front of me. I actually had the index cards of the information with all the details on it. So I just transcribed this into a book. All that stuff now is no longer available. They don't do this type of stuff.
No.
And they it's all good. It's all good for me and Richard to get really excited and say, oh, look at this NLS website and look at all these maps. But they're not all on there. There are maps missing. There are whole series of maps that are not on there. For example, me and Richard saying, oh, it was on this map, but I can't, these maps don't exist. So we get whole areas in the middle where there's no information because they're only giving us the information that they're publishing, right? And to be honest with the NLS, the National Library of Scotland, their stuff is absolutely brilliant, right? But for them to publish another series of maps for those areas that me and Richard can't access, right? It's going to take more time for them to do it. The copies that they've got with the National Library of Scotland are brilliant. They're clear, all the details on it, right? But when Brian Ketch went to read his newspapers from 1831, right? They were just somebody standing above the newspaper taking a photo and say, "All right, next page." Oh no, we don't worry about that. We
Well,
didn't get
it's
yeah. So
obviously become better than that.
I
It
don't
has.
know. No, it hasn't. No, it's not. It's not become better than that at all. Because what lots of the records that they're doing, they're retranscribing the stuff out into documents, and they're missing details. And somebody's saying, "Oh, we don't need that information in there," but we do need that information in there because somebody has given us that information and they've decided to keep it out. And lots of the times when you're looking at stuff, it says, "Oh, um, Jones, 1923," right? And you can't find that document for Jones 1923
Yeah.
because you don't know where it is. And back in the old days, you could say, "Oh, that document and that document there," and you can read it, and the information is available. So I don't think this modern age of computerization is any good. And the other thing as well is this is when people are doing genealogical research, right? And they're saying, right, we're going to do genealogical research on the Ellis family, right? And you're thinking, right, okay, we got those records, right? But nobody has published those other parish records, and nobody's published that information, right? So all you've got to
Well,
go on what's on the internet.
yeah, I mean that does happen because I mean in Ireland there's no records of, because they were all burnt down, and they're trying to retranscribe from parish records, but they haven't got a lot. No, they haven't got everything. But I
No,
got parish records of the period of time that were burnt in the census office, in Dublin. Because I know, yeah, I mean, for somebody
was that
who's,
because of the Easter Rising in 1916?
yeah, they
Right.
burnt all the public records, there was a fire. There was a
Yeah.
fire, I think, and so there's no census before 1922,
Yeah.
and a lot of the parish records were burnt as well. So Anyway, you have to
and
go, you have to research to try and find them. And yeah, it does come down to individuals, you know, and knowing people and getting in touch with descendants and things, you know. It is frustrating. It's very frustrating finding
and
that.
and the, and the and the biggest problem with internet records is as follows, right? And I'll give you two examples. Me and Richard have seen it come and go. People have set up Barry history websites, right? And they put loads of photographs on there, and information, right? And the person who's got that website has died, or the person um,
Mm,
has decided not to renew their domain thingamajig, right? And all the work that's on there is gone. It's disappeared
yeah.
forever. It's gone, right?
Mm,
And the other problem is that, for example, right, this is a good, you know, the Horizon system that the government used for the post offices, right? Um, when you're uploading a new computerized system, you've got to upload from files, right? So you've got a database with all the files on, right?
mm,
Now, if those files have become corrupted, right, you can't upload them onto a new system, right? Um, if you want, and then you start anew, right? So the Horizon system, for example, failed because there were certain details missing because they hadn't uploaded them, or these details were wrong, right? Because it was a new system, right? So if you say got the entire archive for the Royal Commission on Ancient Historical Monuments, right? You got the entire archive, and somebody turned around and said, actually, what we want to do, we want to upgrade the Royal Commission on Ancient Historical Monuments called COVLine, the computer system. We want to upgrade it so it's in line with the National Library of Scotland archives, where you can just press a button and you're straight on, right? The COVLine, even though it's useful, it's more useful for me than say, for example, Arquilio. But if you're looking at, for example, COVLine, and they said, right, we want to do a new system, you've got to make sure that all that stuff that is up there is on a file, right? Because when you press the button and all the system of COVLine's gone, and then you upgrade it onto a new system, that's where you lose information, and that's why you need hard copies. And at this minute, as we see it, I don't see any way forward, because we're still, to be honest with you, we've only really been in this computer age, this advanced computer age of this worldwide accessible web. You know, people say, oh, you know, it's been around since the 1970s, but I can remember having internet access of some description in the early 1990s, right? But it was a library internal system, right? It's an internalized system, right? And then we started using the internet and all the rest of it. It's so we've only really started to
mm,
control the internet technology and to be able to understand in the way we have over the last maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So everything's really new,
yeah.
right? And there was nothing like the National Library of Scotland, um, 7 or 8 years ago, or anything that me and Richard could get access to just like that. It was all new technology, and we really didn't understand it, right? So the worry is that if we rely upon digitized, computerized records, right? Exactly the same thing as what Anne's talking about, with all the records going up in Ireland in 1916. One press of the button and everything's gone. That's
Yeah,
the doom and that's
yeah.
the
I
doom and
mean,
gloom, right?
I'm having trouble at the moment with ancestry.com because I went on there and, you know, I was trying to find my family tree.
Yeah,
So I got a lot of information which they saved,
yeah.
and I'm paying £13 a month for that, you know, to be able to
Oh, they've lost it all.
Hmm?
They've lost
Oh
it.
no, but to be able to access the site and
Oh,
everything.
right.
But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the thing is, like I was recently looking at it and I was thinking, all these people who think they're my relatives and they're not. They're all in America, you know, and they've got nothing to do with me. and they're adding information on, and it's like, oh, I just decided I was gonna get
So
off it
so
for
so
a
that
while,
that's
but
yeah.
I've got to keep my records. I gotta pay £3 a month to keep the
That,
records on. You know,
who's I'm not doubting any of your information, Anne, but what if you've made a mistake about one of your records? Then everyone copies that information,
well,
right? So
exactly. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
that is exactly my point. Who's saying that your information is accurate?
no, I mean, the thing is, they often replicate, so I've got one name and it's in boxes of like about five people, with the same name, because it's it must be sensitive, very sensitive. And I've made a right old mess of it, and I just want to go.
Yeah, but the thing
I
is,
don't want to do it anymore.
who's actually saying that you've made a mess? It might not be a mess, but
No,
this is the thing.
me. I'm
Yeah.
saying it. But
Right. So okay. Now we what I Richard Ann said anything for ages. What we are going to do? Do you know what we're going to do anyway? Right. I know. I know we're supposed to be doing the next class now, but we're going to do something which is hopefully going to interest everybody, right? So I'm gonna check this on now, and I don't know if anyone else is going to join us tonight. So hopefully this is going
Henry's
to come on.
here. Henry's here.
Yeah, but Henry's got special needs, so don't worry about it. Um, right. So what I want to
Oh,
do, right? What I want to do, right? And Goff's here as well.
I'm Goff.
What I wanted to do was actually, I wanted to do this video, and I wanted to play this video, and I wanted to do a voiceover for it. Sorry about the adverts. So can you hear the voice on this, Anne?
Yeah, your
Oh, you can
voice.
hear me talking.
Yeah,
Is it sounding clear?
yeah.
Good.
How do you think?
Yeah, I can't hear anything.
No, it's nothing. No, when he
Can't hear
talks,
it on the video.
Oh,
no,
stop.
he's
Hang
gonna
on,
talk.
hang on. I was asking you if you could hear me talking on this, and you're saying yes, right?
No, I can only
So
hear
Oh,
you
we don't.
talking over
asking,
it.
how did you say that?
No, I thought you said you were going to talk over it.
Have you taken your medication today, Carl?
What are you talking about? You shut up. I'm talking about that silly bloody woman, right?
Yeah.
Look, right, I'm going to remind Goff of this one lecture, right? I do a whole hour one day and I'm talking away, right? And nobody tells me that the images haven't changed in a whole bloody hour, right? So I could have played this 8-minute video and Anne saying yes, and everyone gets to the end of it and says, well, you didn't say a word. And I said, well, Anne said that, didn't she? No, I haven't taken my bloody medicine. And as for you, Henry, stay out of it.
Have you had that phone call from the BBC yet?
Start
I don't
again.
give a about the BBC. I want to do this video, right? And I'm going to talk over it, right? And that's what we're going to do, right?
Look, I can hear you talking
No,
over
you
it.
can hear me because I'm bloody talking. But I was asking you if it was on the video.
No,
No, you should have said that in the bloody first place. Am I surrounded by absolute idiots?
I'm going to turn you off in a minute.
Right. Okay. Look. Okay. I'm calmed down now. What I'm gonna do, right? I'm gonna. I'm gonna talk over this video. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Right. Thank you. Right. So if I. Oh my God. This
You
is.
talk
I.
over it. We don't
Yeah.
want to hear you on the video.
Oh, you can't hear me on the video anyway.
Oh, that's all right then.
Right. Okay. Right. Right. Deep breath. Deep breath. Deep breath. Okay. Right. Okay. Now, basically, we're looking at the site of Dinas Powys, and what the way to get access to this site. I constantly get asked how to get to Dinas Powys Castle, and the way you get to Dinas Powys Castle is to go along into a little valley called Quarter After, right? Which is, if you go to Dinas Powys, and you go to the old part of Dinas Powys, and there's a little shop on the left that sells prints, and you go down the hill, there's a church there, there's St. Letton's Way, and you keep going along that road, and there's a little parking on the left, and you go along the parking on the left, and you come into a little valley. So you go along into this little valley, and then there used to be barbed wire fencing, and now the barbed wire fencing has gone down. So you go up that slope, right, and then you're heading from that valley, which has got a stream, but it's not really a well-flowing stream. And then you go up the bank, and there I am, and I'm looking back, and there's various walls, and you go up the banking, and you keep going, and eventually you start to see something showing, and that's actually Dinas Powys Castle. And this site for me is an absolutely fascinating site. And what I'm going to do, Anne, did you hear my explanation then?
Yes.
Good. Now shut up. I'm going to carry on. So what we basically got, you go up this banking, and the equipment that I'm actually using here is something called GoPro, and it was a piece of equipment that we were funded to purchase in the pandemic, and we still occasionally use it. This whole landscape 60 years ago none of these trees were here, and slowly but surely you keep going further and further at the bank, and you can actually, just through the trees, actually see the wall. Now, the wall itself, as it's going to slowly come onto us, the wall itself is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 meters in places. It's incredibly tall, right? And this site itself is privately owned. Now, the sad thing about this site is it was owned by the local history society, the Dinas Powys History Society. But unfortunately, when the Dinas Powys History Society closed and folded, they decided to sell this castle. And there's the walls of the castle. You can just see the walls of the castle sticking up. And they unfortunately sold it, and it's still in private ownership. And I'm trespassing as I'm taking this, but there's nothing stopping. And you can see these tremendously high walls. And I have taken numbers of people here. And the one interesting thing about these high walls is that it's a rectangular area of walls. It's a rectangular area. There's bits of the wall broken down, but you can see the ivy, and you can look up at the wall, and it's absolutely amazing. It's fascinating that it's there, and nothing's really made of this. I believe personally that this is one of the greatest gems in the Vale of Glamorgan, that is not open to public access, and it is decaying. But I used to know, and you can see that bits of it now being undermined there, but it's sat on rock, so it's not going anywhere soon. That little arch there is actually a much later arch. So what happened after the 1090s? This site was captured by the Norman overlord in Cardiff, by the Fitzhammonds, and they basically put that little gateway in, right? And for me personally, when I examined this, when it went from native hands into Norman hands, the site itself became probably a pleasure garden, right, known as a pleasantry. If you go look above the arch, there's little black things. Those are put logs. That's for scaffolding. And this for me. Oh, hang on, advertising. Oh God, sponsorship. Go. Hang on. Skip. Right, this for me is something really special, and as we go through now, you can see the thickness of the walls. They're about 1.5 meters thick, and we're looking down, and that there is a bar hole. That's where you put the wooden bar through, right? And I used to walk around with an iron stick. And an iron bar, so it would be shut with an not start again. I've got the iron bar. It'd be closed with a wooden bar that goes across, right? And that would secure the door. But this is a later door. This is a Norman door. And what we're doing, we're walking south towards the entranceway, and there you go. We've got more of these putt logs that go through the width of the wall. The wall itself is 1.5 meters at least. And again, you're getting an idea of the height. I used to know a guy that this was actually being cleaned and conserved by the Manpower Services Scheme in the 1980s. And I used to know a guy called Joshua Minnis, who used to work on the restoration of this site. And I don't know how further along this video is going to go. Hopefully, it'll go to a corner area. Right, this didn't have towers. It was a native build site. It didn't have towers, but that there is a window. And we've only got 2 windows in the whole of the wall of the thing, which is quite interesting. There's the other window there as well. There's bits of Sutton sandstone there, which is used in the window dressing, which is the same sandstone that you can actually find at Ogmore Castle. So you keep going along, and that there's 2 windows, and hopefully we'll get to the entrance in a moment. There is a northern bit of the wall that's broken down that leads to a tower building, that's up for negotiation when tower was actually built. But this is that's looking in and really sort of overgrown. But again, in the 1980s, it wasn't that overgrown, and we're just pushing along. Hopefully, we can get to, yes, I get into the gateway. It's really overgrown, and the bar slot as well is in this wall, and it's a really wide bar slot, right? So this is the entranceway. It's just a normal gateway. It's not got a gatehouse, and this is how native build sites were actually constructed. And the bar slot on the right hand side is probably wide enough for me to actually crawl through, but I'm not that stupid. But it didn't have an arch for the gateway. It just had a beamed gateway, typical native build castle. Can you get that, Richard? Typical native build castle. And it's a shame it's in this condition, and it's being allowed to fall down. I know you can argue that people need to keep themselves warm over winter, and there's other priorities with this failing government. But the fact of the matter is, for people to have a sense of connection with their landscape, they need their history and they need their identity, and that's the wall a little bit more clearer. This is the wall facing southways at Dinas Powys, and the way the wall's constructed, it's made of the local sandstones, it's made of the local limestones, it's got loads of putt logs. The putt logs are there for scaffolding. The way the putt logs would work is you'd lay a course of wall, and hang on a minute, we've got another bit of advertising, right? Oh, that's it. It's gone. That was the end of the video. But you'd lay a course of wall, and you'd have a beam which would act as scaffolding, and then you'd carry on the courses of stone wall, and then you'd sort of build the scaffolding up, and then as the wall's to its height, which was in this case between 8 and 10 meters tall, you would render the inside and the outside of the castle wall, and you would pull the beams out. Right, if you can't pull the beams out, you'd cut them, hence putt log, and then you'd render, and you'd keep going down, render, right, probably whitewash, and then the scaffolding would be gone. So I wanted to give you that for Dinas Powers Castle, which I wanted to look at earlier on. And what we are going to do now is I'm going to ask you guys, what we're gonna stop the recording there, and we're going to start a new recording for the next class. So we're going to stop that, and